Good morning to everyone. I'm Haris Chandra, Additional Director of the Economic Research Department of the Central Bank. And I warmly welcome you all for this press conference today. This is the fifth scheduled press conference on monetary policy review. And as before, this press conference is presided over by the Governor of the Central Bank, Teshamanya Professor W.D. Lakshman. And the panel also comprises today the Deputy Governors, Mr. Mahinda Siriwardana, Mrs. Yvette Fernando, and Mr. Dhammika Nanayakkara, and all the Assistant Governors and the relevant heads of department. The format of this press conference is also same as before. First, Governor will do opening remarks, and then the Director of Economic Research, Dr. Chandranath Amarsekara, will do the presentation on the review of monetary policy stance. And after that, my colleagues at the Economic Research Department, Dr. Lasitha Padberia, the Deputy Director, and Mrs. Pongude Ratnadivel, the Senior Economist, will do the presentation in Sinhala and Tamil. After the presentation, we will open the floor for questions. So with that short introduction, let me kindly invite Governor to make opening remarks, please. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Harish. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to all the media personnel, my colleagues from the Central Bank. As our normal practice has been in the past several times, I will first make a brief presentation in Sinhala, and then shift on to English. I hope I will not take too long, even speaking in two languages. Obama api සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා හැමෝටම සුබ උදෑසනක්. ඔබ හැම දන්න පරිදි මහ බැංකුවේ මුදල් ස්ථාවරය මුදල් ප්‍රතිපත්ති ස්ථාවරය නොවිනාශව පවත්වා ගැනීමට මුදල් මණ්ඩලය ඊයේ තීරණය කළා තිබෙනවා. මෙම තීරණයට එළඹීමේදී මුදල් මණ්ඩලය දේශීය ගෝලීය වශයෙන් වන සාර්වාර්ථික තත්ත්වයන් සහ ආර්ථිකය මුහුණ දෙන විවිධ අවදානම් සැලකිල්ලට ගත්තා. ඒ අතර දීර්ඝ ලෙස මේ කාරණා පසුව ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා ඇති. මට පසුව ජනමාධ්‍යවේදීන් මෙන්ම සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාව ලෙස ඔබ උනන්දුවක් දක්වන ක්ෂේත්‍ර පිළිබඳව ක්ෂේත්‍ර කිහිපයක් පිළිබඳව අවධානය යොමු කිරීමට මම කැමැතියි. විදේශ ණය සේවා කරන වගකීම් විදේශීය සංචිත තත්ත්වය පිළිබඳව සැලකීමේදී රජය සහ මහ බැංකුව වඩා අභියෝගාත්මක කාල පරිච්ඡේදයක් මැද්දේ දැනට අපි ඉන්නේ. එසේ වුවත් රටේ අඛණ්ඩ ණය සේවාකරණය සහතික කිරීම සඳහා පියවර ගණනාවක් අපි ගත්තා. ඒවා අවධාරණය කිරීමට කැමැති. COVID-19 වසංගතය සංචාරක ඉපැයීම් සහ සමහර ආයෝජන ලැබීම් කෙරෙහි අවශ්‍යදායක ලෙස විශාල වශයෙන් බලපාලා තිබෙනවා. අත්‍යවශ්‍ය නොවන විදේශීය ගෙවීම් සීමා කිරීමට නිසා පියවරගෙන තිබෙනවා. මෙම පියවර නිසා ආර්ථිකයේ සමහර අංශවලට අහිතකර බලපෑම් ඇති විය හැකි වුවත් මෙම පියවර ගන්නේ සමස්තයක් ලෙස රටේ අභිවෘද්ධිය සඳහායි කියන එක අවධාරණය කළ යුතුයි. සැලකිය යුතු ණය සේවා කරන වගකීම් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් සපුරාන අතරේම නිල විදේශීය සංචිත 2021 ජුනි මාසයේදී අපි ඊට පෙර මාසයේ පැවති තත්ත්වයේම නොවෙනස්ව පවත්වා ගැනීමට පුළුවන්කම ලැබුවා. මීට දින කීපයකට පෙර නිකුත් කරන ලද සවිස්තර මාධ්‍ය නිවේදනයක් මගින් රජයට මහ බැංකුවට මූල්‍යාංශයට සහ සමාගම් අංශයට අපේක්ෂිත ලැබීම් පිළිබඳව මා කිසියම් විස්තරයක් කරලා තිබෙනවා. අපගේ විදේශීයාංශයේ තත්ත්වය කාලයත් සමග ක්‍රමයෙන් වැඩි දියුණු වීමක් සිදුවනු ඇතැයි අප විශ්වාස කරන බව නැවතත් අවධාරණය කරන්නට කැමැතියි. අනවශ්‍ය ලෙස ආර්ථිකයේ යහපතට වඩා හානියක් කළ හැකි සමපේක්ෂණවලට එරෙහිව රට වෙනුවෙන් අප සමග කටයුතු කරන ලෙස මා මාධ්‍යවේදීන්ගෙන් ව්‍යාපාරික ප්‍රජාවෙන් සහ මහජනයාගෙන් ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා. ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාකාරකම් සැලකූ විට විශේෂයෙන් පළමු කාර්තුවේ බොහෝ අංශවල ධනාත්මක වර්ධනයක් දක්නට ලැබූ බව අපි සතුටෙන් මතක් කරන්න කැමැතියි. කාර්මික නිෂ්පාදන දර්ශකය, කෘෂි කාර්මික අංශයේ ක්‍රියාකාරීත්වය, විදේශීය වෙළඳාම හා බැංකු ණය වැනි දැනට පවත්නා දත්ත මත පදනම්ව පළමු කාර්තුව සඳහා කලින් අපේක්ෂා කළ වර්ධනයට වඩා ඉහළ වර්ධනයක් අපි අපේක්ෂා කරමින් ඉන්නවා. කොවිඩ් ආශ්‍රිතව රට වසා දැමීම් ක්‍රමයෙන් ඉවත් කිරීමත්, එන්නත් කිරීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය පූර්ණ ලෙස සිදුවීමත් සමග වසරේ අවසාන කාර්තුව වන විට ආර්ථිකය සැලකිය යුතු ලෙස යථා තත්ත්වයට පත්වනු ඇතැයි අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. රාජ්‍ය මූල්‍ය සහ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රතිපත්ති, ෆිස්කල් සහ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රතිපත්ති සහයෝගය මෙන්ම දේශීය ව්‍යවසායකයන් සඳහා සහාය වන රාජ්‍යයේ වර්ධන ආධාරක ප්‍රතිපත්ති ආර්ථිකයේ අපේක්ෂිත ඉහළ වර්ධන මාවත කරා යොමු කිරීමට උපකාරී වනු ඇති. එසේම වරාය නගර සංවර්ධන ව්‍යාපෘතිය සාර්ථකව ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම ආර්ථිකයට අමතර උත්තේජනයක් ලබා දෙනු නිසායි. මා ඔබ සමග අවස්ථා ගානාවකදී අදහස් වමාරු කරගෙන ඇති පරිදි අපි ණය රහිත රටක් යන පරමාදර්ශය කරා ගමන් කිරීමට කටයුතු කරමින් ණය රහිත කියලා කියන්නේ ණය ශූන්‍ය යන අර්ථය නොව පහසුවෙන් කළමනාකරණය කළ හැකි මට්ටමක ණය ප්‍රමාණයක් පවත්වා ගැනීම කියලා මා නිර්වචනය කරනවා. පරමාදර්ශ කියන්නේ සාක්ෂාත් කර ගැනීම දුෂ්කර නමුත් අපට මඟ පෙන්වීම සඳහා හැම විටම පැවතිය යුතු මූලික හරයක්. මෙයින් අදහස් වන්නේ අප විදේශීය හා දේශීය ණය යන දෙකම මනවින් හසුරුවා ගත යුතු බවයි. ඉහත පරමාදර්ශය සාක්ෂාත් කර ගැනීමට උත්සාහ කිරීමේදී ඕනෑම රටකට විවෘතව ඇති හොඳම විකල්පය ස්ථායීතාව පිළිබඳ අරමුණ ගැන අවධානය අමතක නොකර මූර්තාංශයේ සංවර්ධනය කෙරෙහි අවධානය යොමු කිරීමයි කියලා මම හිතනවා. මූර්තාංශය තුළ ඉදිරි වසරේදී පහත සඳහන් අංශවලින් සැලකිය යුතු ධනාත්මක සංවර්ධනයක් හා වෙනස්කම් අත්පත් කරගත හැකි බවට අප තුළ ඉහළ විශ්වාසයක් තිබෙනවා. මේ අංශ කීපයක් සඳහන් කළොත් සාම්ප්‍රදායික සහ නවීන අපනයන නිෂ්පාදන අංශ, එවැගේම කෘෂිකාර්මික මෙන්ම කාර්මික හා සේවා අපනයන, කෘෂිකාර්මික හා කාර්මික අංශයේ සිදුවන ඵලදායී සහ කාර්යක්ෂම ආනයන ආදේශන කටයුතු, ප්‍රතිපත්ති මත පදනම් වූ මෙන්ම සංවර්ධනය මත පදනම් වූ ආනයන අඩුවීම, සංචාරක කර්මාන්තයේ පුනර්ජීවනය සහ සංවර්ධනය, විදේශීය ඍජු ආයෝජන, එවැගේම පෝර්ට්ෆෝලියෝ ආයෝජන යන ආදිය මා මෙහිදී සඳහන් කරන කරුණු කීපය. අප දැනට අත්පත් කර ගැනීමට ක්‍රියා කරමින් සිටින ශක්තිමත් වැඩසටහන යන්තමින් ඉඩ තියෙන මේ කාල පරිච්ඡේදයේ කාලයේදී මා නිකම් සඳහන් කිරීමටයි ඉහත අයිතම සඳහන් කළේ. මෙම වැඩසටහන දැඩි අරමුණකින් යුක්ව ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාම හැර මේ දිනවල බොහෝ මාධ්‍ය ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම සහ වෙනත් ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්ති සාකච්ඡාවල දැක්වෙන විදිහේ අඳුරු අනාවැකි කියමන් වලට හා විනාශකාරී සමපේක්ෂණ වලට පිළිතුරු දිය හැකි වෙනත් මගක් නැතයි මට සිතෙනවා. අවසාන වශයෙන් උද්ධමනය හා මුදල් සැපයුම් ප්‍රචාරණය පිළිබඳව සැලකීමේදී මහ බැංකුව මෙන්ම බැංකු අංශයත් මෙම දුෂ්කර වකවානුවේදී පෞද්ගලික අංශයට මෙන්ම රජයටද අඛණ්ඩව සහයෝගය ලබා දී ඇති බව මෙහිදී සඳහන් කළ යුතුයි. දුර්වල සමස්ත ඉල්ලුම් තත්ත්වයන් සැලකිල්ලට ගත් විට තිරසාර මට්ටමකින් ආර්ථිකය යථා තත්ත්වයට පත්වන තෙක් ඉල්ලුමෙන් පෝෂණය වුණු උද්ධමන පීඩනයක් අපි අපේක්ෂා කරන්නේ නැහැ. එමගින් රජයට සහාය වීමට මහ බැංකුවට අවකාශය තිබෙනවා. අනාගතයේදී අවශ්‍ය වූ විට වර්ධන ක්‍රියාවලියට හානියක් නොවන පරිදි උද්ධමන ගැටලුවක් ආවොත් ඒක මුහුණ දීම සඳහා මහ බැංකුවට සුදුසු ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්න ඇතැයි අමුතුවෙන් සඳහන් කළ යුත්තක් නොවේ. මම තව විනාඩි කිහිපයක් අරගෙන එම අදහස් දැක්වීම ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් ප්‍රකාශ කිරීමට ඔබගේ අවසරය පතනවා. As you are aware, the Monetary Board yesterday decided to keep the policy stance of the central bank unchanged. Monetary policy stance unchanged. In arriving at this decision, the board took into consideration various sectoral developments and risks faced by the economy on the domestic as well as global fronts, which will be explained in the longer presentation that will follow. I would like to touch upon a few areas which will be of interest to you as journalists as well as the general public. On foreign debt service obligations and the foreign reserve position, I would like to highlight that the government and the central bank have taken several steps to ensure the impeccable debt service record of the country amidst the most challenging times. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected inflows from tourism and many investment inflows, and measures have been taken to limit non-essential outflows. We understand that some segments of the economy may get affected due to these measures, but these measures are taken for the betterment of the country as a whole for a short period of time. Even while meeting sizable debt service obligations, the official reserves were maintained in June 2021, unchanged from the levels that were observed in the previous month. I have outlined the expected inflows to the government, the central bank, and the financial sector and the corporate sector in a detailed press communique issued a few days back. And I would like to reiterate that I am confident that there will be a gradual improvement to our external sector situation over time. I urge the journalists, the business community, and the general public to work with us for the country to counter speculation that could do more harm than good to the economy unnecessarily. On economic activity, we are pleased to observe positive developments on many fronts, particularly during the first quarter. Based on information available, such as the index of industrial production, on agricultural sector performance, trade and bank credit, A better than previously expected growth performance is expected for the first quarter. As the COVID-related lockdowns are gradually removed, and with the vaccination drive in full force, we expect a notable recovery towards normalcy by the last quarter of the year. Fiscal and monetary policy support, as well as the growth supportive government policies to assist domestic enterprises, will help the economy to achieve the much anticipated higher growth path. And the successful implementation of the Port City project will provide additional stimulus to the economy. As I have shared with you on many occasions, we were working towards an ideal of a debt-free country. Debt-free in the sense not of zero debt, but one of easily manageable debt levels. Ideals are difficult to achieve, but must be there always to guide us. This implies we have to be able to handle foreign and domestic debt both. The best option open to any country trying to achieve the above ideal is to focus on real sector developments, not losing focus on stability concerns. In the real sector, we are very confident that by about the next year, we will achieve substantial positive developments and changes. And I can mention a few areas which offer promise. Export growth in both traditional and modern export products. Agricultural as well as industrial and service exports. Productive and efficient import substitution in agriculture and industry. Policy driven as well as development driven import reductions, of course, also coupled with increases in imports. Balancing out. Revival and development of tourism. Foreign direct investment as well as portfolio foreign investment. In the short period available to me, I have merely listed the above items to indicate to you the strong, promising program we are working on. There is nothing else but pushing this program forward that could counter the speculative doomsday predictions we are now being inundated with by most media presentations and other economic policy discussions. Finally, on inflation and monetary expansion issues, I must note that the central bank as well as the banking sector has contributed to support the private sector as well as the government in these difficult times. Given subdued aggregate demand conditions, we do not anticipate inflationary pressures until a substantial recovery is observed, which has provided the space for the central bank to further continue to assist the government's economic policy. When required in future, we will obviously take appropriate action to address any inflationary concerns without damaging the growth process. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over the program to Haris.
Thank you very much for that introduction and opening remarks. And I will invite Dr. Chandranath Amarsekara to do the presentation on monetary policy reviews.
Thank you very much, and I hope you can see my slides. As Dr. Harishchandra mentioned at the beginning, this is the 5th monetary policy review for the year 2021. And let me explain to you in more detail what the discussions that happened at the Monetary Board yesterday, basically expanding on what Governor said earlier. As Governor said, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to maintain policy interest rates at their current levels. And also, we announced this morning that the Central Bank will continue to monitor domestic and global macroeconomic and financial market developments and stand ready to take appropriate measures as and when necessary, with the aim of maintaining inflation in the targeted 4 to 6% range under the flexible inflation targeting framework in the medium term, while supporting sustained economic recovery. Accordingly, policy interest rates remain unchanged. The standing deposit facility rate at 4.5%, standing lending facility rate at 5.5%, the bank rate at 8.5%, and also the statutory reserve ratio is maintained unchanged at 2%. If you look at the growth performance of the Sri Lankan economy, we still haven't received the first quarter growth figures from the Department of Census and Statistics. We expect the Department of Census and Statistics to release it tomorrow. And as Governor explained, most of the economic indicators that we have for the first quarter indicate towards a higher than expected growth rate for the first quarter of 2021. And our original expectation was about 3 to 3.5% growth in the first quarter. But let us wait till tomorrow and see what the actual outcome is. But when you look at the indicators like the index of industrial production, it has reached an all-time high, although the data set on the new index of industrial production is short. And we know that in the second quarter, there were disruptions to economic activities with the third wave of the COVID pandemic, as well as the related containment measures. But as you can see from the chart at the bottom, you see that the third wave is also dissipating. And as you are well aware, the vaccination drive is continuing at an accelerated speed. So with that, we think that there will be some, there will be in relation to growth in the second quarter, growth would be less than what we expected. But in the second quarter 2020, there was a contraction of 16.4%. So with that 16.4% contraction in the second quarter 2020, we still expect a double-digit growth in the second quarter of 2021. And for the entire year, our early expectation was a growth rate of about 6%. But now we believe that growth will be around 5% in 2021. But we will wait till the first quarter growth results are out to revise our projections. And with regard to the trade performance, we saw the merchandise exports sector being quite resilient in the first 5 months of the year. And we have preliminary data for the month of June as well, which indicates that exports have been quite close to $1 billion during the month of June as well. So overall, we are looking at an average export performance of monthly export performance of about 950, close to 1 billion exports per month. We have also seen imports increasing during the months of March, April, and May. Imports have substantially increased. And if you look at the breakdown for those increases, you see that the increased fuel prices, as well as intermediate and investment goods imports, have contributed to this increase in imports. Overall, in the first 5 months of the year, we have seen a trade deficit of $3.7 billion compared to a trade deficit of 3.1 billion US dollars that we saw during the same period last year. This is slightly higher than we expected. And as Governor said, with the domestic production economy kicking off, we believe that there will be a gradual reduction in imports. And also within this higher import number and the higher trade deficit, we see some speculative type of imports as well. We expect those to slow down in the period ahead. With regard to tourism, we know that the tourism industry is facing an extremely challenging time, but we believe with the vaccination drive and the opening up of the economy, not only in Sri Lanka, but globally, there will be at least some revival in tourism industry towards the end of this year. And as we have explained earlier also, Sri Lanka's peak tourist season starts towards the end of the year. And if we prepare from now itself, I think the tourism industry will have some hope of revival from the end of this year. With regard to workers' remittances, we have seen a continued increase in workers' remittances, 18.2% year-on-year increase during the first 5 months of the year. But we should also remember that during the months of March, April, May last year, there was a sharp drop in workers' remittances. And that's why we are seeing this high growth of 18.2% year-on-year. But still, with oil prices increasing, we expect a continued momentum in workers' remittances throughout the year towards around 7.5 billion of workers' remittances in 2021. The exchange rate, as you know, has recorded a depreciation of 6.7% thus far during the year. In the first quarter, the exchange rate has depreciated by 6.35%. In the second quarter, the depreciation has been limited to 1.04%, with the central bank working very closely with the banking community. And at the moment, the official exchange rate remains slightly below 200 rupees when you compare the weighted average rate in the interbank market. And the speculative behavior and front loading of imports have caused undue pressure in the domestic foreign exchange market and the availability of foreign exchange liquidity as well. And even amidst these conditions, as at end of June 2021, as Governor mentioned, official reserves have been estimated at $4 billion. These numbers were published yesterday. And if you compare this with the end May 2021 reserve level, there has been it's basically at the same level compared to the end of June. And this level of official reserves of $4 billion does not include the bilateral currency swap facility amounting to CNY 10 billion, which is equivalent to about $1.5 billion between the People's Bank of China and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. To build up reserves, the central bank has continued to purchase foreign exchange from the market. And thus far during the year, we have purchased about $140 million from the market. And with the mandatory purchases on account of export conversions and workers' remittances, we expect these purchases to accelerate in the period ahead. And we may see some volatility in reserve levels in the period ahead, but we expect such developments to be temporary. And as Governor stated, adequate financing strategies have been lined up to maintain reserves at sufficient levels and to maintain and to meet all maturing debt service obligations of the government on time. Looking at the market interest rates have declined to low levels. Some or most of the market interest rates to historic lows. And if I give you some statistics, you can compare the interest rates that were there at the end of 2018 with the current levels. And also within, if you take the period from end of 2019 up to now, the general market interest rates, the lending rates have declined by about 400 basis points, 4 percentage points. And there has been an inevitable decline in deposit rates as well. But we are quite happy that the lending rates have declined to very low levels, and they remain in those levels at the moment. And we believe that the prevailing low interest rates and the surplus rupee liquidity in the domestic money market will continue to support the flow of low-cost credit to the economy, particularly towards the more productive sectors. And the credit extended to the private sector during the first 5 months of the year has been around 331 billion rupees. The expansion has been about 331 billion rupees. And the year-on-year increase in credit to the private sector has now accelerated to about 10.5%. This is the first time since March 2019 we see a double-digit expansion in private sector credit growth. And we expect this trend to continue during the year. And we expect about an additional 800 billion rupees to be added to the economy as private sector credit during the year. And we have also seen an expansion in public sector credit to the public sector from the banking system, particularly to the government. And along with increased private sector credit, this has resulted in an continued expansion in broad money. Broad money growth is now at 21%. I thought I will share with you some indicators about monetary easing, because there are discussions in the public domain about money printing and so on. So if I give you some statistics that you can use, if you look at currency in circulation, there are several definitions for what is generally called money printing, and those are some indicators for that. You can't clearly say that this is what is meant by money printing. So the broad idea is that in many countries, like Governor said, this has happened during the COVID pandemic, and in Sri Lanka also this has happened. And in particular, when the government's borrowing requirement is higher, and when the government has less access to foreign financing, and also there is intention, expressed intention by the government to reduce the dependence on foreign debt, obviously that will initially come to the domestic sector, and that's what we have seen happening in 2020. And if you compare the numbers, most of the numbers in 2020 and thus far during 2021, we have seen some slowdown in this monetary expansion, particularly towards the government. So if we look at currency in circulation, we have seen currency in circulation increasing by 157 billion rupees in 2020, and another 105 billion in 2021, thus far during the year. Essentially, this has been caused by the general public holding more currency rather than returning currency to the banking system. Usually, what we see in during other years is currency in circulation increasing at festive periods and then declining later on. But we haven't seen this happening since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic in early 2020. And reserve money, or base money, or the monetary base of the country, this is also impacted by SRR changes from time to time. During the year 2020, reserve money has expanded by 31.8 billion, and thus far in 2020, this has expanded by 94.5 billion. But as I said, when SRR is the statutory reserve ratio is reduced, it was reduced in 2019 as well as in 2020, then this number declines. So when you are analyzing the reserve money, the behavior of reserve money, you have to be very careful about the interpretation of those. And another type of monetary easing is what we call net credit to the government from the central bank. There are several ways at least two ways that the central bank can lend to the government. One is through provisional advances, and the other one is through the central bank's holdings of government securities, treasury bill purchases. In 2020, there has been a reduction of 83.5 billion in provisional advances, credit to the government through provisional advances. In 2021, there has been an increase in provisional advances by 45.1 billion. And the treasury bill holdings of the central bank have increased by 629 billion in 2020. And in the first 6 months of this year, treasury bill holdings have increased by 209 billion. And we also hold treasury bonds for purchased for open market operations, and it's a small amount that we hold in terms of treasury bills. But there will be daily fluctuations about fluctuations of central bank's treasury bill holdings due to various reasons. Most of them could be due to technical reasons. So if the government and the central bank decides to settle the provisional advances of the central bank, then we could see a temporary increase in treasury bill holdings, and that should not be, those daily movements, I think, should not be interpreted as money printing. And also, when you look at overnight liquidity, in 2020, we saw overnight liquidity increasing by about 169 billion. Thus far during the year, overnight liquidity has declined by 115 billion, but still there is a substantial amount of overnight rupee liquidity in the money market. Finally, broad money expansion. The numbers are again given here. Broad money, M2B, what we call M2B, which includes activities of the government, private sector, and so on. That has increased by about 1.8 trillion rupees in 2020 and another 627 billion in 2021. That's just for your information. And inflation remains moderate given the subdued aggregate demand conditions. Although food inflation has accelerated due to supply disruptions. I just wanted to show you this slide about the behavior of inflation from 1970 up to now. You can see several peaks in inflation, double digit, even close to, or even more than 30%. So since 2009, since the beginning of 2009, the country's inflation rate based on CCPI has remained in single digit levels, and we are trying to stabilize this in mid-single digit levels, as you are well aware. And there is no change to this stance. The central bank's intention is to maintain inflation in mid-single digits at around 4 to 6%. And even now, although food inflation is high, inflation remains at 5.2% based on CCPI. So compared to this history of very high inflation in Sri Lanka, this is what we are looking at now. And again, I think I don't think enough credit is given to this transformation from double-digit inflation to single-digit inflation that we are seeing. Of course, there are volatilities in inflation, mostly driven by food inflation and supply-side inflation. But as Governor said, if we have evidence of continued pressure on inflation coming from the demand side, as the central bank, as a responsible central bank, we will take action to address those concerns with appropriate policy measures. Thank you very much. Let me invite my colleague, Dr. Lasitha Padbiri, to summarize this in singular.
Suti, Dr. Chandranath. අයිබෝවන්. අද දින ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවේ මුදල් මණ්ඩලය 2021 වසරට නියමිත වූ 5 වන මුදල් ප්‍රතිපත්ති විවරණය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළා. එෙහිදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුව සිය ප්‍රතිපත්ති පොලිය අනුපාතික නොවෙනස්ව පවත්වාගෙන යාමට තීරණය කළා. ඒ අනුව ප්‍රතිපත්ති පොලිය අනුපාතික එනම් නිත්‍ය තැන්පතු පහසුකම් අනුපාතිකය 4.5ක මට්ටමේ, නිත්‍ය ණය පහසුකම් අනුපාතිකය 5.5ක මට්ටමේ නොවෙනස්ව පවතිනවා. මෙම තීරණ සඳහා එළඹීමේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවේ මුදල් මණ්ඩලය දැනට පවතින දේශීය මෙන්ම ගෝලීය සාර්වාර්ථික ප්‍රවණතා හා අපේක්ෂිත සාර්වාර්ථික ප්‍රවණතා අද සලකා බැලුවා. මම දැන් එම කරුණු ඉතාමත් කෙටියෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මුලින්ම අපි ආර්ථික වර්ධනය දෙසට යමු. 2021 වසරේ පළමු කාර්තුව සඳහා දළ දේශීය නිෂ්පාදිතයේ ඇස්තමේන්තු ජනලේඛන හා සංඛ්‍යාලේඛන දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව විසින් තාමත් නිකුත් කරලා නැහැ. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන නුදුරේදීම නිකුත් කරයි කියලා. එහෙත් ආර්ථිකයේ ප්‍රධාන අංශ සඳහා වන දර්ශක මගින් 2021 වසරේ පළමු කාර්තුව තුළදී අපේක්ෂිත මට්ටමට වඩා වැඩි වේගයකින් ආර්ථිකයේ යථා තත්ත්වයට පත්වී ඇති බවට පෙන්눔 කළා. එම අංශ කිහිපයක් අධිපතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රකාශයේදී ඉදිරිපත් කළා. එන්නත් කරන ක්‍රියාවලිය මෙන්ම සංචරණ ශ්‍රීමා ඉවත් කිරීම මගින් දැනට පවතින COVID-19 රැල්ල තුළින් සමස්ත ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාකාරකම් කෙරෙහි ඇති කරන බලපෑම අඩු කරයි කියලා අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. ඒ අනුව 2021 වසරේදී දළ දේශීය නිෂ්පාදිතයේ වර්ධනය 5% පමණ වනු ඇතැයි අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. අපනයනයෙහි යම්කිසි වර්ධනයක් පෙන්눔 කළත් ආනයන වියදම වැඩි වීම හේතුවෙන් 2021 ජනවාරි මාසයේ සිට මැයි මාසයේ කාලය තුල එනම් මාස 5ක කාලය තුල වෙළඳ හිඟය පුළුල් වුණා. COVID-19 වසංගතයේ අභියෝග හමුවේ සංචාර කර්මාන්තයේ යථා තත්ත්වයට පත්වීම කෙරෙහි අඛණ්ඩව බාධා ඇති වෙනවා. කෙසේ වෙතත් විදේශ සේවා නියුක්තයන්ගේ ප්‍රේෂණ ලැබීම් සැලකුව ලෙස වර්ධනය වුණා. විදේශීයන්ගේ ඇති අභියෝග මැඩලීම සඳහා හඳුන්වා දී ඇති ක්‍රියාමාර්ග දේශීය විදේශීය විනිමය වෙළඳපොළ තත්ත්වය යම් මට්ටමකට වර්ධනය වීමට උපකාරී වුණා. එහෙත් ආනයන භාණ්ඩ කල්ති ආයනවුම් කිරීමට පෙළඹීම මෙන්ම යම් පාර්ශ්වයන්ගේ සමපේක්ෂණ හැසිරීම නිසා වෙළඳපොළ තුළ අනවශ්‍ය පීඩන තත්ත්වයන් ඇති වුණා. 2021 වසරේ මේ දක්වා කාලය තුළ ශ්‍රී ලංකා රුපියල එක්සත් ජනපද ඩොලරයට සාපේක්ෂව 6.7ක ප්‍රමාණයකින් අප්‍රමාණය වීමක් වාර්තා වුණා. 2021 ජූනි මාස අවසානයේ වන විට දළ නිල සංචිත ප්‍රමාණය එක්සත් ජනපද ඩොලර් බිලියන 4.0ක් ලෙස ඇස්තමේන්තුගත කර තිබෙනවා. ඉදිරි කාලයේදී විදේශ සංචිත මට්ටමේ යම් උච්චාවචන පැවතීමට හැකි වුණත් එවැනි උච්චාවචන తాවකාලික වනු ඇති. අපේක්ෂිත විදේශ විනිමය ප්‍රවාහ තුළින් සංචිත ප්‍රමාණවත් මට්ටමින් පවත්වා ගැනීමට සහ රජයේ කල්පිරෙන ණය සේවා කරන වගකීම් නියමිත වේලාවට සපුරාලීමට හැකි වනු ඇතැයිද අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. වෙළඳපොළ පොලිය අනුපාතයක ඉතා අඩු මට්ටමක පවතින අතර එමගින් පෞද්ගලික අංශය සඳහා ණය ගලා යාම වර්ධනය වීම සඳහා පහසුකම සැලසෙනවා. COVID-19 වසංගතය මගින් රජයේ ආදායම හා පුනරාවර්තන වියදම් මත ඇති වූ බලපෑම හේතුවෙන් රජය බැංකු පද්ධතියෙන් ලබාගත් ණය සැලකිය යුතු ලෙස ඉහළ ගියා. අපි උද්දමනය දෙසට යමු වුණොත් අඩු සමස්ත ඉල්ලුම් තත්ත්ව සමග උද්දමනය අඩු මට්ටමක පැවතුනද සැපියුම් අංශයේ බාධාවන් හේතුවෙන් ආහාර උද්දමනය ළඟදී ඉහළ ගියා. ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුව මෙන්ම රජය විසින් අනුගමනය කරන ලද උත්තේජක ක්‍රියාමාර්ග වල බලපෑම් හේතුවෙන් මෙන්ම ගෝලීය වෙළඳපොළවලෙහි භාණ්ඩ මිල ගණන් ඉහළ යාමට ඇති හැකියාව හේතුවෙන් මැදි කාලිනව යම් ප්‍රමාණයකින් උද්දමන පීඩනයක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙත් ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය මැදිහත් වීම හරහා එවැනි පීඩන අවම කර ගැනීමට හැකි වනු ඇති අතර එමගින් මැදි කාලීන උද්දමනය මැදි තනි අගයක මට්ටමේ පවත්වා ගැනීමට හැකි වනු ඇති. මෙම කරුණු සැලකලා බලලා මුදල් මණ්ඩලය ඊයේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති පොලිය අනුපාතික නොවෙනස්ව පවත්වාගෙන යාමට තීරණය කළා. මහ බැංකුව විසින් දේශීය හා ගෝලීය සාර්වාර්ථික සහ මූල්‍ය වෙළඳපොළ ප්‍රවණතා අඛණ්ඩව නිරීක්ෂණය කරන අතර ආර්ථික පුනර්ජීවනය කෙරෙහි සහාය දෙමින් උද්දමනය නිසි මට්ටමේ පවත්වා ගැනීමට අවශ්‍ය අවස්ථාවන්දී සුදුසු ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැනීමට සූදානමින් සිටිනවා. ස්තුතියි.
எல்லோருக்கும் மதிய வணக்கம். இலங்கை மத்திய வங்கியின் நாணய சபையானது 2021 ஜூலை 7ஆம் நாள் நடைபெற்ற அதன் கூட்டத்தில் மத்திய வங்கியின் துணைநில் வைப்பு வசதி வீதத்தினையும் துணைநில் கடன் வழங்கல் வசதி வீதத்தினையும் அவற்றின் தற்போதைய மட்டங்களான முறையே 4.5% 5.5% பேணுவதென தீர்மானித்திருக்கிறது. சபையானது பேரண்ட பொருளாதார நிலைமைகளையும் உள்நாட்டு மற்றும் உலகளாவிய துறைகளில் எதிர்பார்க்கப்படும் அபிவிருத்திகளையும் மிக கவனமாக பரிசீலனையில் கொண்டதன் பின்னர் இத்தீர்மானத்திற்கு வந்திருக்கிறது. பொருளாதார வளர்ச்சியை பார்த்தோமானால் ஆளுநர் அவர்கள் கூறியது போல் 2021 முதலாவது காலாண்டில் இலங்கை பொருளாதாரமானது எதிர்பார்க்கைகளை விஞ்சுகிற ஒரு உயர்ந்த வளர்ச்சியை பதிவு செய்திருக்கும் சாத்தியம் உள்ளது. தொகை மதிப்பு மற்றும் புள்ளி விபர திணைக்களத்தினால் 2021 முதலாவது காலாண்டிற்கான மொத்த உள்நாட்டு உற்பத்தி மதிப்பீடுகள் வெளியிடப்படாத போதிலும் பொருளாதாரத்தின் பல முக்கிய துறைகளுக்கான குறிகாட்டிகள் எதிர்பார்க்கப்பட்டதை விட வலுவான ஓர் மீட்சியை எடுத்து காட்டுகின்றன. தற்பொழுது நாடு முழுவதிலும் மேற்கொள்ளப்பட்டு வருகின்ற அந்த தடுப்பூசி விநியோகம் மற்றும் நகர்வு தொடர்பான தடைகளை நீக்கும் சாத்தியம் என்பவை பொருளாதார நடவடிக்கைகள் மீது COVID-19 தற்போதைய அலையின் தாக்கத்தை மிதமடைய செய்யும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகிறது. இவ்வகையில் 2021 5% மொத்த உள்நாட்டு உற்பத்தியின் வளர்ச்சியை நோக்கிய ஓர் நீடித்து நிலைத்திருக்கக்கூடிய பொருளாதார மீட்சி என்பது உருவாக்கப்படும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகிறது. வெளிநாட்டு துறையை நாம் பார்த்தோமானால் வெளிநாட்டு துறையின் நிலைமைகளை பார்க்கும் போது ஏற்றுமதிகள் ஓர் மீண்டெழுந்த தன்மையை கொண்டிருந்த போதிலும் இறக்குமதிகளினால் முன்னெடுக்கப்பட்டு 2021 ஜனவரி முதல் மே காலப்பகுதியில் வர்த்தக பற்றாக்குறை என்பது விரிவடைந்து காணப்பட்டது. சுற்றுலாத்துறை தொடர்பில் உலகளாவிய ரீதியிலும் உள்நாட்டிலும் காணப்பட்ட பன்மடங்கான COVID-19 அலைகளினால் எழுந்த சவால்கள் என்பவை சுற்றுலாத்துறையின் மீட்சியை தொடர்ந்தும் தடை செய்தது. அதே வேளையில் தொழிலாளர்களின் பண அனுப்பல்களில் காணப்பட்ட கணிசமான மேம்பாடு என்பது வெளிநாட்டு நடைமுறை கணக்கிற்கு ஆதரவளித்து காணப்பட்டது. வெளிநாட்டு துறையில் காணப்படும் சவால்களை தீர்ப்பதற்கு அறிமுகப்படுத்தப்பட்ட வழிமுறைகள் உள்நாட்டு வெளிநாட்டு செலாவணி சந்தை நிலைமைகளினை ஓரளவிற்கு இலகுபடுத்த உதவிய போதிலும் ஊக நடத்தை மற்றும் முன்கூட்டிய இறக்குமதி என்பவை சந்தையில் மிதமிஞ்சிய அழுத்தங்களை ஏற்படுத்தியுள்ளன. செலாவணி வீதத்தை பார்க்கும் போது ஆண்டின் இதுவரையான காலப்பகுதியில் இலங்கை ரூபாயானது ஐக்கிய அமெரிக்க டாலருக்கு எதிராக 6.7% தேய்மானத்தை பதிவு செய்துள்ளது. 2021 ஜூன் இறுதியில் மொத்த அலுவல் சார் ஒதுக்குகள் ஐக்கிய அமெரிக்க டாலர்கள் 4 பில்லியனாக மதிப்பீடு செய்யப்பட்டுள்ளது. இது அதாவது 2.7 மாதங்களுக்கான இறக்குமதிகளின் அளவிற்கு சமமாக காணப்படுகிறது. அத்துடன் முக்கியமாக குறிப்பிட வேண்டிய ஒரு விடயம், இந்த ஐக்கிய அமெரிக்க டாலர்கள் 4 பில்லியன் ஒதுக்குகளில் 10 பில்லியன் சீன எண் அதாவது ஐக்கிய அமெரிக்க டாலர்கள் 1.5 பில்லியன் பெறுமதியான பீப்புள்ஸ் பேங்க் ஆஃப் சைனா உடனான இலங்கை மத்திய வங்கியின் இருபுடை நாணய ஸ்வாப் வசதி உள்ளடக்கப்படவில்லை என்பது குறிப்பிடத்தக்க ஒரு விடயமாக உள்ளது. ஆளுநர் அவர்கள் தனது முன்னுரையில் இன்று கூறியது போல் போதிய அளவில் ஒதுக்குகளை பேணுவதற்கும் அரசின் முதிர்ச்சி அடையும் படுகடன்கள் யாவினையும் உரிய நேரத்திலான தீர்ப்பனவு செய்வதற்கு போதிய அளவு நிதியிடல் உபாயங்கள் உள்ளதனால் எதிர்வரும் காலத்தில் வெளிநாட்டு ஒதுக்குகளின் மட்டத்தில் ஏற்படும் சில ஏற்ற இறக்கங்கள் என்பவை தற்காலிகமானவையாக இருக்கும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகிறது. அத்துடன் மத்திய வங்கியினால் அண்மை காலத்தில் மேற்கொள்ளப்பட்டு வருகின்ற இந்த நாணய கொள்கை தளர்த்தல் வழிமுறைகளுக்கு பதிலிருத்தும் வகையில் பெருமளவான வைப்பு மற்றும் கடன் வழங்கல் வட்டி வீதங்கள் வரலாற்றிலேயே தாழ்ந்த மட்டங்களுக்கு வீழ்ச்சியடைந்துள்ளன. தற்போது காணப்படுகின்ற தாழ்ந்த வட்டி வீதங்கள் மற்றும் மிகையான ரூபாய் திரவத்தன்மை என்பவை பொருளாதாரத்திற்கு தாழ்ந்த செலவிலான கொடுகடன் பாய்ச்சலுக்கு வசதி அளித்து பொருளாதார நடவடிக்கைகளுக்கு புத்துயிர் அளிப்பதற்கு ஆதரவு அளிக்கும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகிறது. தனியார் துறைக்கான கொடுகடன் 2021 ஜனவரி முதல் மே பகுதியில் கணிசமான அளவினால் விரிவடைந்ததோடு இந்த துரிதம் 2021 எஞ்சிய பகுதியிலும் தொடரும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகிறது. பணவீக்கத்தினை பார்க்கும் போது நிரம்பல் சார் சீரற்ற தன்மைகளினால் உணவு பணவீக்கம் விரைவடைந்த போதிலும் பொருளாதார ஆராய்ச்சி திணைக்களத்தின் பணிப்பாளர் அவர்கள் கூறியது போல் நிலவுகின்ற இந்த மிதமான திரண்ட கேள்வி நிலைமைகளுக்கு ஏற்ப பண நிரம்பல் என்பது மிதமாகவே காணப்படுகிறது. அதாவது 2009 ஜனவரி முதல் உள்ள காலப்பகுதியில் இலங்கை மத்திய வங்கியானது பணவீக்கத்தினை 10% அதாவது ஒற்றை இலக்க மட்டத்திலேயே 10% குறைவாக அதாவது ஒற்றை இலக்க மட்டத்திலேயே பேணி வருகிறது. ஆகவே 2021 எஞ்சிய பகுதியில் பணவீக்கம் பெருமளவிற்கு விரும்பத்தக்க வீச்சான 4 முதல் 6% பணவீக்கம் நிலவும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகிறது. பன்னாட்டு பண்ட விலைகள் மற்றும் மத்திய வங்கி மற்றும் அரசினால் மேற்கொள்ளப்படும் தூண்டல் வழிமுறைகளினால் திரண்ட கேள்வியின் மேம்பாடு என்பவையினால் நடுத்தர காலத்தில் சில பணவீக்க அழுத்தங்கள் ஏற்படலாம். அவ்வாறான அழுத்தங்கள் மத்திய வங்கியின் உரிய காலத்துடனான கொள்கை தலையீடுகளின் ஊடாக தணிக்கப்படுவதன் மூலம் நடுத்தர காலத்தில் நடு ஒற்றை இலக்க மட்டங்களில் பணவீக்கம் பேணப்படும் என உறுதி செய்யப்படுகிறது. நன்றி.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for all presentations. We can now open the floor for questions, and so journalists can raise a hand on Zoom, and we will give the mic for you. But please mention your name and institution when you are asking the question. And also you can send questions to us using Q&A and chat options on Zoom. We have received some questions already into the chat, and as well as we have received a couple of questions via email as well. So let me go for the first question that came via email from Mr. Bandula Siriman, Sunday Times. And this question is for Governor and the panel. This is about the there was a little confusion about the requesting for an IMF program versus the SDR allocation that we are expecting this year. The question is about how can Sri Lanka get $800 million under the IMF SDR allocation by August if the country has not made any formal request for program funding? I suppose Governor can begin the response, and the Deputy Governor will also join.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Now, there are, as Dr. Harishandra mentioned, there are two things here confused or combined in the question. One thing is getting into an IMF agreement and program and get a loan from the IMF on the basis of that program. The program will give us certain policy indicators, and the country will be expected to follow those programs or follow those policies. On that basis, the IMF will provide funding for various purposes, particularly for debt relief kind of purposes. The other thing is, at different intervals, the IMF decides to create a certain volume of SDRs, special drawing rights. When these SDRs were created, I think in the 1970s or 80s, it was considered to be an international currency that is created by the IMF. Now this intermittently there must be some regular time periods, intermittently this is created. Now during this COVID period, in order to assist all the member countries of the IMF in managing resources, the IMF had decided to create the volume of SDRs. I think the total volume that is to be created in this time is somewhere around, I might be corrected by my colleagues if my numbers are wrong, it's somewhere around $650 billion. Now this, on a pro rata basis, on a proportional basis, depending on the quota contributions of member countries to the IMF fund, in proportion as a right to the members, this total volume that is created by SDRs will be divided among different members. And then it is the role of the members and the members of the IMF to use that volume of SDRs allocated to it. Each member can exchange that with other member countries into whatever international currency, dollars or sterling pounds, whatever, for its purposes. It is this second method of resources creation that we are talking about in this particular instance as the possible receipt of a volume of somewhere around US dollars 800 million or 750 million under the IMF SDR allocation by August-September period. And need not be followed by a request from the country. It is coming as a right to that country on the basis of the quota contribution of the country to the IMF fund. So maybe Mr. Sirivadana, who has a lot of experience with the IMF, DGS, will probably add to my explanation if necessary.
Thank you, Governor. No, I don't think that I have much to add because you covered almost everything. As Governor very correctly indicated, for a program, yes, we have to make a formal request. And once that type of formal request is received from a member country, then only the IMF will start working on that, especially program modalities, and also then they would start this negotiation. Since Sri Lanka has not made a request and government has not taken a decision to go to IMF, there won't be any program. And the next question about this allocation, Governor is very right. In fact, this is a general allocation of reserves to all members, and the distribution of SDR allocation would be made in proportion to quota share. So Sri Lanka's quota share is 0.12. So if you compare with 650 billion, that's the total allocation to be made. So we'll be getting around 700 million.
Thank you, Governor and Deputy Governor. I think Mr. Asantha Siriman,
yeah, I can speak.
also, yeah, you also want to raise a question. Please ask your question.
Governor, regarding the July bond payment, have you earmarked funds from the reserves, the central bank reserves or the government reserves, and when that will the funds be transferred? And also, I think there's a bond payment next year also. Do you have follow-up situation process where you earmark certain funds for certain of them next year? The second question is from the purchases of dollars, how much do you expect to collect to both to improve the research?
Now, what we hope to and plan to collect from domestic earnings has been mentioned. The volumes have been mentioned briefly by DER in his presentation. So those volumes will continue, and whoever, I do not have the numbers here. One of my senior officials who has the numbers ready will add to my explanation. Then your other question, the first question is, how are we going to meet the July payment? July payment, before the 27th, we might get small amounts from various sources, but we have basically the central bank reserve, which can be used if funds coming from various other sources is not adequate. We will use this. So obviously by end of this month, there might be a drop in the reserve level, but we expect to come back to the present levels of reserves through various sources of funds which we expect to achieve by the end of the month or the beginning of the next month. this is what I would like to add in my response to your question, Mr. Sirman. One of our DGs will take up the question and fill up what I have not mentioned. Maybe Dr. Amarsekara can do that.
So I will add to what you said about the expected purchases from the export proceeds and workers' remittances. And as you know, Asantha, the schemes are that out of workers' remittances converted into rupees, we are purchasing 10% of those. And we are also purchasing out of the 25% mandatory conversions of export proceeds, we are purchasing out of that 10%, which is 2.5 from the total. The expectation is that during the second half of the year, we will collect at least $350 million from that. The annual collection will be around 650 to 700 million. We also have the option of changing the amount of purchases to the central bank depending on market conditions.
Thank you, Governor and Dr. Amarsekara. And I think Mr. Sham Ganevat also asked a question in Sinhala. If I read the question for you, Medinawala Naivara Lipi විවෘත කරන්න බැරි බව යම් ව්‍යාපාරිකයන් සහ කර්මාන්තකරුවන් පවසනවා. මේ නිසා කර්මාන්තවලට අවශ්‍ය අමුද්‍රව්‍ය ගෙන්වා ගැනීමට පවා බැරි බව ඔවුන් කියනවා. මේ සඳහා තිබෙන පිළියම් කවරේද කියලා තමයි මිස්ටර් ගණේවත් අහන්නේ. Deputy Governor Mrs. Fernando can start the response, then others also can join if possible, please.
Deputy Governor, you're on mute.
Yeah, can I respond to that until Mrs. Fernando comes up with her submission?
Yes, Deputy Governor, please.
Shyam, thank you. බොහොම ස්තුතියි ඔබතුමාගේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට. මම දන්න විදිහට මම හිතන්නේ අධිපතිතුමා මේ ප්‍රෙස් කොන්ෆරන්ස් එක පටන් ගන්නකොටම කිව්වා අත්‍යවශ්‍ය නොවන ආනයන යම් තාක් දුරකට සීමා කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. මම හිතන්නේ ඒක රජයේ ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්තියත් එක්කත් රජයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තියත් එක්කත් සම්බන්ධ වෙනවා කියලා. මොකද රට තුල නිෂ්පාදන කර්මාන්ත බිහි කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒතර අත්‍යවශ්‍ය නොවන ආනයන යම් මට්ටමකට සීමා වෙයි. ඒත් එක්කම දැන් පවත්නා තත්ත්වයේ යටතේ මම හිතන්නේ මේක මීට අවස්ථාවන් කීපයකදීත් මීට කලින් ප්‍රකාශ වුණා. අපිට පේනවා පවත්නා විනිමය අනුපාතිකයේ යටතේ පිටරටවලට භාණ්ඩ යවන අපේ ව්‍යාපාරික ප්‍රජාව තමන්ගේ අතේ තියෙන ඩොලර්ස් රුපියල් වලට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න මැලිකමක් දක්වනවා. මම හිතන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතන් ඉන්නවා මේ විනිමය අනුපාතය ඉස්සරහට වෙද්දී යම් මට්ටමකට අවප්‍රමාණය වෙයි. ඒ හරහා ඒගොල්ලන්ට වැඩි රුපියල් ප්‍රමාණයක් ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි දෝ කියලා. ඒත් එක්කම ආනයනකරුවෝ හිතන් ඉන්නවා ඒ තත්ත්වයේ යටතේම තවත් බලන් හිටියොත් ඇත්තටම Tamanට අවශ්‍ය කරන භාණ්ඩ ගන්න වෙන්නේ ඉස්සරහට අවශ්‍ය වෙන භාණ්ඩ ගන්න වෙන්නේ වැඩි රුපියල් ප්‍රමාණයක් ගෙවලා කියලා. ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිට පේනවා Tamanගේ දෛනික එදිනදා අවශ්‍යතාවයන්ටත් වඩා වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් ආනයන වලට මේ දවස්වල මුදල් ඉල්ලුම් කරනවා. දැන් අපේ බැංකු පද්ධතිය සැලසීලා තියෙන්නේ රටට. මොකද මේ විදේශ විනිමය කියන දේවල් අපි උපය ගන්න ඕනේ. මොකද රුපියල් වගේ නෙමෙයි අපිට අච්චු ගන්න බෑ ලංකාවේ. එතකොට අපි උපය ගන්න බැංකු පද්ධතියට එන මුදල් ප්‍රමාණය අනුව තමයි මේ බැංකු පද්ධතියේ යම්කිසි ගෙවීම් කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. එතකොට බැංකු පැහැදිලිවම කියලා තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රවාහයන් අනුව ඒගොල්ලන්ට ලැබෙන විදේශ විනිමය අපිට පේනවා ඒකේ වෙනස් වීමක් වෙලා නැහැ. අපනයන වලින් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, අපනයන ආදායමෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, නැත්නම් විදේශ ශ්‍රමිකයන්ගෙන් රට තුලට එන ගලායම් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ මම හිතන්නේ අපේ ආචාර්ය අමරසේකර යාගේ ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන් එකෙත් පෙන්නුවා මේවා යම් මට්ටමක ඉම්ප්‍රූව්මන්ට් එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මම කිව්ව ආනයන කරුවන්ගේ සහ අපනයන කරුවන්ගේ ක්‍රියාවලිය නිසා යම්කිසි තරමක අදි ඉල්ලුමක් ආනයන කරුවන්ගෙන් ඇති වෙන ගමන්ම සැපයුමට යම්කිසි බලපෑමක් වෙලා තියෙනවා අපනයනකරුවන්ගෙන්. එතනදී බැංකු විචක්ෂණශීලීව ඒගොල්ලෝ කියලා තියෙනවා තමන් ණයවර ලිපියක් නිකුත් කරන්න යනකොට ඒ අදාළ පුද්ගලයන්ට දැනුම් දීලා තියෙනවා සමහර අවස්ථාවලදී මේක අපිට ඕගොල්ලන්ට ඒ බැංකුවෙන්ම විවෘත කරගන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් ඒක එදා නෙමෙයි සමහරට පසු දවසක කරන්න කියලා දැනුම් දීමක් සමහරට කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද හේතුව ණයවර ලිපියක් කියන්නේ බැංකුව අනිත් රටේ ඉන්න භාණ්ඩ සැපයුම්කරුවා වෙනුවෙන් දෙන ප්‍රතිඥාවක් නැත්නම් සහතිකයක් irrevocable undertaking එකක් නැත්නම් නැවත හැරිරිය නොහැකි මේ තත්වයක් බැඳීමක් ඒ භාණ්ඩ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගෙවීම නිසි වෙලාවට කරනවා කියන එක. එතකොට එතනදී බැංකු වඩාත් විචක්ෂණශීලීව මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා වගේ තමන්ගේ මුදල් ප්‍රවාහයන් බලලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට උපදෙස් දෙනවා. ඒ වගේම සමහර එතනදී මම විශේෂයෙන්ම කියන්න ඕනේ අපි දන්න විදිහට අපිට කොහෙත්ම තොරතුරු වාර්තා වෙලා නැහැ මේ අතරමැදි භාණ්ඩ ආනයනය කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ණයවර ලිපි මේ විවෘත කිරීමේදී ඒ ආනයනකරුවන්ට බාධාවක් නැති වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා. බැංකු ගොඩක් වෙලාවට බලනවා ණයවර ලිපියක් විවෘත කරන්න ගියාම මොන වගේ භාණ්ඩයක්ද මේගොල්ලෝ මේ ගේන්න හදන්නේ. ඒත් එක්ක මේ ආනයනකරුවා කොච්චර භාණ්ඩ ප්‍රමාණයක් ආනයනය කරලා තියෙනවද මේ වෙනකොට. මොකද අපි දන්නවා සමහර ආනයනකරුවන් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා වගේ දිනදා අවශ්‍යතාවන වලට නෙමෙයි ඉදිරි මාස ගණනකට සමහරු මම හිතන්නේ ඉදිරි මාස 10කට 15කට අවශ්‍ය කරන ප්‍රමාණයේ භාණ්ඩ ගෙනල්ලා ගොඩ ගහගෙන ඉන්නවා. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතනවා එක්ක මේවා රජය විසින් සීමා කරයිද එහෙම නැත්නම් විදේශ විනිමය අනුපාතික අනවශ්‍ය ලෙස පිරිහෙයිද එහෙම වුණොත් ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒ හරහා යම්කිසි රුපියල් වලින් වැඩි පිරිවැයක් දරන්න වෙයිද කියන එක. ඇත්තටම මේක පුහු මතයක්. මම හිතන්නේ රජය දිගින් දිගටම සඳහන් කරලා තියෙනවා යානයන සීමා කිරීම කරන්නේ නැති බවකුත් සහ විදේශ විනිමයත් මේ පවත්නා තත්ත්වයන් යටතේ යම් ස්ථාවර මට්ටමක පවතී කියන එක පෙන්නලා තිනවා. ඒත් එක්කම පහුගිය මාස කිහිපේ මාස දෙකක විතර කාලේ බැලුවොත් එහෙම විනිමය අනුපාතයත් යම් කිසි ස්ථාවර මට්ටමක බැංකු පද්ධතියම එකතු වෙලා යම් මට්ටමක පවත්වාගෙන යනවා ඇත්තටම. ඉතින් එතනදී සමහරු මම හිතනවා මේක තියෙන තත්ත්වය අතිශයෝක්තියෙන් දැක්වීමක් තමයි. මොකද අපි අපිත් සමහර බැංකු වලට කතා කරාම බැංකුත් අපිට දන්වලා තියෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒ බැංකුවට ඒ අවස්ථාවේ බැරි වෙනවා. ඒ වුණාට එතනදී කස්ටමර්ට අවස්ථාව තියෙනවා. ඒ බැංකුවටම යා යුතු නැහැ. සමහරට A කියන බැංකුවට යා යුතු නැහැ. එයාට B කියන බැංකුවට ගිහිල්ලා ඒ දේ කරගන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් A කියන බැංකුවෙම මේක ගෙන ගන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් සමහරට දවස් දෙකක් ඉඳලා ඒ බැංකුව එයාට උපදෙස් දෙන විදිහට කටයුතු කරා නම් එයාගේ අවශ්‍යතාවයන් කිසිම කරදරයක් නැතුව කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් කියන තත්ත්වය තමයි අපිට වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මම හිතනවා මේ තත්ත්වය ඒ ආකාරයෙන්ම මම දන්නවා ශාම් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ වෙළඳපොළ එක්කත් සම්බන්ධයි. තවත් තොරතුරු රැස් කරගෙන මේ තත්ත්වයේ යථා තත්ත්වයෙන් සඳහන් කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක අපිට ලොකු උදව්වක් වෙනවා මේ අවස්ථාවේදී. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
ස්තුතියි නියෝජ්‍ය අධිපතිතුමනි. නියෝජ්‍ය අධිපති ඉවත් ෆර්නෑන්ඩෝ මහත්මිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් දස් දැක්වීමක් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද?
ආචාර්ය හරිශ්චන්ද්‍ර මම හිතන්නේ මමත් කියන්න අදහස් කරගෙන උත්තේ තවත් විස්තරාත්මකව අපේ නියෝජ්‍ය අධිපති ප්‍රකාශ කරා. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ තවත් දෙයක් අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Thank you Deputy Governor. I think because we have touched that issue in Sinhala, I think there are a couple of questions on the sort of related theme in English as well. One from Mr. Bandula Siriman as well about the forex liquidity shortage, as reported in sort of several international institutions as well. So if I just read the question for you in his own words, given the sort of reports that Sri Lanka is having some liquidity shortage in the domestic foreign exchange market, is there a sort of a forex crisis in the country now? If so, what steps that the central bank is taking to tackle that situation, and what are the forex inflows that are expected in the period ahead? And perhaps if sort of governor also can begin the response, then the deputy governors will also join. Yes, Governor.
I can contribute something to that question, but the answer given in Sinhala by Nanakkara covers almost all the areas. In addition to what he mentioned, maybe I can give a rough indication of some of the resources that are, some of the additional foreign exchange resources that are expected. But the basic idea now is to manage the imports with some restraint on the basis of what we are getting almost daily or weekly from our exports, service exports, as well as commodity exports, and also from remittances. So if the banking sector manages the inflows and outflows through those coming through those mechanisms, exports and imports, then I think we should not be having this problem. Of course, there is a strong messages going from various sources, which are very largely speculative. When I use the word speculative, there will be criticisms coming that the governor is talking about speculation, but this is the reality. But it's a reality which is created by speculation, as Mr. Nanakkara also mentioned. Maybe Mr. Nanakkara can present some of the material you presented in English.
Mr. Sirimana, thank you very much for asking that question. Now, I think, I mean, if you look at the domestic foreign exchange market volumes, average daily volumes, I think it will definitely give the answer. You know, our domestic market daily volumes range from, 7 to 100 million, sometimes 110, 120 million per day, millions of dollars. And this amount has been there without any reduction. And now the pressure is coming simply because there's a front loading of imports, mainly because the importers think that at any time whether the government would come and place some restrictions on certain imports, especially non-essential imports. And then the second thing, they also think, given the developments, whether the exchange rate would depreciate from current level to a very low level, so that their rupee cost of import might go up. So to avoid that, what they do, they import as much as possible. Sometime, and we see they borrow in rupees and then demand for dollars for these imports. And on the other hand, the exporters, I think in Mr. Amarasekara's presentation, I think he has discussed about the substantial increase in foreign currency deposits held by commercial banks. So what we see here, the exporters who used to convert substantial amount their export proceeds into LKR are now prefer holding on to dollar balances and then use as much as possible the rupee proceeds, sometimes borrowed proceeds, for their financing. And there again, that money also seems to be somewhat delayed. Now, because of this, the central bank, I think the Monetary Board had issued, I mean, there's a regulatory intervention to manage this, address this to a great extent. And then the central banks, the Monetary Board has issued rules requiring exporters to bring in their export proceeds on exports of goods within 180 days to the country, and then conversion of at least 25% of that into LKR within next 30 days. And I think the regulations, the rules were issued on 28th of May. And then we saw 1 month completion by 28th of June. And then we saw some improved in, mandatory conversions. And of that, the central bank is purchasing 10% for the reserve build-up. Also, I think Mr. Amarasekara mentioned a little while ago that how much the central bank is planning to buy into reserve build-up from those flows, plus the worker remittances converted into LKR. And now there again, there's another, I think recently there's a cabinet decision also to the effect that the central bank to consider increasing this mandatory conversion rate from current 25% to a higher level after certain studies. So this also been conducted for the time being. I mean, to give you an answer, direct answer to your question with this background, there is no, there is a liquidity issue because of this speculative behavior of the importers as well as the exporters. But I think the measures have been taken, and then this has, I think the question Mr. Shaminuwan Ganevat asked about delays in opening of LCs. That's another tactic the banks are following. Banks are deploying to address this liquidity issue as well, because they see, if a lot of demand comes in for import requirement, they gradually, align the such requirements in line with the supply of dollars, inflows of dollars, so that the foreign currency requirement would be met without any difficulty and without building up of unnecessary pressure. I think that's what we see in the market. Sometimes some unnecessary non-essential imports requirement related demands may be delayed, or maybe I think the banks would advise those customers to delay their imports certain days or whatever. But more importantly, that intermediary goods and raw material imports are not being affected, and those requirements are fulfilled by banks without a fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor and Deputy Governor, for detailed response. And I can see 3 requests to ask questions, one from Mr. Gayan Chandrasekhar and Mr. Lalin Fernandopoulos and Mr. Shaminuwan Ganevat. So I'll go first for Mr. Gayan Chandrasekhar, please.
Hi, Gayan Chandrasekhar from Lanka Business Online. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Please ask your question.
Thanks. I basically have 2 queries. First one is a follow-up and perhaps the most asked one. Governor, do you have any thought of going into an IMF restructuring program this year? I'm not talking about the SDR of around $800 million expected in August, September. Do you really think the measures already taken by the central bank are adequate? That's the first one. And the second one is about the government's decision to raise tax revenue by introducing a tax exemption strategy for undisclosed money and assets. Do you think that the parallel economy is increasingly reducing the effectiveness of the policy interventions or transmissions? Governor, what are your thoughts about that? Thanks.
To begin with, the very brief answer to your first question, Dan, is that there has not been a serious discussion or a decision made by either the central bank or the government about going for an IMF program. There is no intention at the moment for doing that. Then your second question is how viable or how effective the policies that the central bank is following can sort out the foreign exchange problem. And part of the foreign exchange problem, as eloquently expressed by several people earlier, is largely speculative. Speculation cannot be addressed through whatever sensible policies that are introduced. So that will remain. And then you have also mentioned something of parallel economy. I do not know what exactly you want to refer to. The parallel economies have been there in this country and in many other countries for a long period of time, but there is no intention of supporting or helping those parallel economies. So my understanding is that the kind of real economy measures that are being followed by the government in respect of export promotion, respect of import restrictions, sensibly implemented, then further promotion of remittances, promotion of and at the moment helping the relevant industries to survive in the tourism sector, and then let them be prepared to start getting revival and providing their services when the tourist routes are open into Sri Lanka. For example, we probably have to learn from our neighboring countries who have been very successful. For example, a country like Maldives, which has been very successful in reviving the tourist industry after the COVID attack. So our tourist agencies are also working towards that. Remember, tourism industry in this country was something like a $5 billion industry before this COVID problem came up. So I am not saying that 5 billion can be reached almost in a month or two, but by about the end of this year, there should be substantial improvement given the COVID decline in the COVID spread currently seen, as well as the rapid expansion of the vaccination program. So this is one area which is lying over there, dormant at the moment because of the lack of customers. But once the customers start coming in, they can, since the infrastructure is there, that can be revived very quickly. So there are also various other real economic activities that can promote. And we are, of course, also very hopeful that direct foreign investments will prospects are there, and then there will be, in reality, there will be expansion of those activities. But then, as stopgap measures, short-term solutions, we have some swap arrangements with central banks and also various other institutions, including our own commercial banking sector, which will help us tide over any disturbances in the short term. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Mr. Lalin Fernando Pulle wants to ask a question. You can unmute and ask a question, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Yes, there is a strong opinion that we are too dependent on the pandemic to attribute low economic growth activities and especially reserves because recently there was some comments that Bangladesh is far ahead of us despite being a poorer country in its reserves and economic performance. So then how come are we taking cover under the pandemic? And that also on the other side, how could we achieve this 5% growth that has been speculated this year when key sectors like agriculture, fisheries, energy dependent industries are in turmoil right now, not knowing their future and with a very bleak, uncertain environment.
Thank you, Mr. Fernand Pulle. I think Dr. Amar Shekhar will perhaps begin the response.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernando, for that question. Very broad question. I think you have to understand the structure of various economies as well. If you take Sri Lanka, I think in a sense, Sri Lanka's tourism earnings is quite high. I mean, like Governor said, we had about $4.4 billion from tourism as tourist earnings in 2018, and with the Easter Sunday tax, it came down to 3.6 billion. And last year it was just 700 million, and that's something that's an inflow that we do not see to the Sri Lankan economy at the moment. And obviously, Bangladesh is not dependent on tourism. Their inflows and outflows depend on various other things. And so essentially, I think this also highlights the need for Sri Lanka to diversify its economy, domestic economy, towards various services sectors as well as various production sectors. And that transformation is ongoing now. And we have already seen, we are starting to see some results, but we hope that those results, getting those results will accelerate in the period ahead. And I think even in the previous questions, there were questions asked about the difficulties faced about raw material imports and so on. I think it should be this is probably something that the industrialists should also adapt to, because only then there would be an incentive for them to source raw material from the domestic economy wherever possible. So that transformation is happening. We hope that it will continue, because as Governor said at the very beginning, that the only way out for us in the medium to long term is to reduce the country's dependence on debt and increase our own earnings. With regard to the 5% growth expectation, I wouldn't call it a projection yet. We will wait for the first quarter growth results to be out. I think we have said earlier also that in 2021, growth will be driven by two key factors. One is the low base effect, the contraction that we saw in the previous year, in 2020. So 3.6% contraction in 2020, and any growth expected in 2021 will be on top of that. That's why even for the global economy, with the contraction that the global economy experienced in 2020, the agencies like the IMF, World Bank, they are expecting a higher growth in 2021. So one key factor that would affect the growth performance positively is the base effect. The other key factor is the ongoing monetary and fiscal stimulus. And we are aware that monetary stimulus can help the growth performance in the short term, but for us to sustain the growth performance beyond 2021, we will need several conducive policy measures, as Governor mentioned, and we need speedy implementation of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amarsekar. Mr. Shyam Ganewatha දැන් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබතුමා සූදානම්ද?
ඔව් මම ශාම් ගණේවත් මේ දිවයින පත්තරෙන් අධිපතිතුමා කලින් අර විශේෂ ප්‍රකාශයක් කරා මෑතදී එහි එතුමා සඳහන් කළා තවදුරටත් ආනයනය සීමා කරගන්න අවකාශයක් තියෙනවා කියලා. එතකොට ඒ වගේ රජයට යම්කිසි නිර්දේශයක් කළා තියෙනවද තවදුරටත් ආනයන සීමා කරගන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ අත්‍යවශ්‍ය නොවන ආනයන සීමා කරන්න පියවර ගන්න කියලා රජයට මහ බැංකුව නිර්දේශ කළා තියෙනවද? විශේෂයෙන් ওই සුකෝපභෝගී භාණ්ඩ සහ විදුලි උපකරණ වගේ දේවල් සීමා කරන්න යනවා කියලා ආරංචි තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒක කරන්නේ මහ බැංකුවේ නිර්දේශය අනුව කියලාත් පැවසෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් මහ බැංකුව පැත්තෙන් පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න කියලා ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
දැන් ඩෙපියුටි ගවර්නර් නානයක්කාර අධිපතිතුමාට පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් මම මුලින් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
නෑ මම කියන්න සූදානම් වුණේ මේ සාකච්ඡා මට්ටමේ තිබෙන කාරණා එතන විවාදයට හෝ සාකච්ඡාවට බඳුන් කරන එක ඒ තරම් හොඳ නෑ. ක්‍රියාමාර්ග අපේක්ෂිත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග සම්බන්ධයෙන් නොයෙකුත් ප්‍රශ්න ඇති වෙන නිසා මහා බැංකුව විවිධාකාර කාරණා සම්බන්ධයෙන් යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා ආණ්ඩුවට. ඒ සමහර යෝජනා පිළිගන්නවා, සමහර යෝජනා පිළිගන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඔය ආනයන සීමාවන් පිළිබඳවත් යම් යම් තෝරාගත්තු ඉතාමත්ම දැඩි නියාමනයක් යටතේ තෝරාගත්තු අත්‍යවශ්‍ය කිසිසේත් අත්‍යවශ්‍ය නොවේ කියලා හිතෙනවා. එකම අපි මේ මාස කිහිපයක් අපිට සෑහෙන තරම් ඒ භාණ්ඩ තිබෙනවා කියලා විශ්වාස කරන්න පුළුවන් විදිහේ අංශ කිහිපයක් පිළිබඳව ආනයන සීමාවන් තව මාස කිහිපයක් පවත්වාගෙන යාමේ වැරද්දක් නැහැ කියලා හොඳයි කියලා එහෙම නිර්දේශයක් කෙරුණා. නමුත් ඒ ගැන මා කතා කිරීමට සූදානම් නැහැ. දීර්ඝ දිගට එය තවමත් සාකච්ඡා මට්ටමේ තිබෙන කාරණයක් නිසා. මේ වෙනත් එකතුවක් මීට කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් ප්‍රකාශ චන්ද්‍ර
thank you, Governor. I think that's sort of fair response for that question. And we have got two questions from Mrs. Marian Muzaffar. One is on inflation and the other is on forex liquidity. So if I go to the inflation question first, inflation in May exceeded 6%. I think she's referring to the National Consumer Price Index. So will the CBSL revise its medium-term target of 4 to 6%? Or what measures will be taken to cool down any inflationary pressures? I think Dr. Amarsekar already addressed this broadly, this concern, but if you can give a little more insight into that, Dr. Amarsekar, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Mariam, for that question. So during a particular month, inflation could well exceed the 4 to 6% target band announced by the central bank. If it's not a sustained increase, it's not a concern to the central bank. There will be fluctuations in inflation in the short term due to various supply side factors. And let's say that the country has already, the government has already increased domestic petroleum prices in response to higher global petroleum prices. And that kind of adjustments could also fuel inflation to some extent for a short period of time. So if that does not, those short-term increases, volatilities in inflation do not get transmitted into longer-term inflation on a sustained basis, then the central bank will not react to those. And the central bank will respond only if there is a continued increase, in continued acceleration in inflation, And right now, we do not see such a movement. And the numbers are before you. And I have shown the historical numbers as well. We are talking about, compared to the history, we are talking about very, I wouldn't say very low levels, but subdued levels of inflation at the moment. And we do not, I'm sure you are well aware of the tools that the central bank has to contain inflation if necessary. But at the moment, we do not see any reason to use such measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amarasekaran. The next question from Marian is, will the rationing of US dollars at banks stop after the ISB payment on 27th July, or will such measures continue? This is about the sort of limitations or restrictions that are in place to forex outflows. This is more like a forthcoming question, but Deputy Governor Mr. Nanayakkara would perhaps want to respond first, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the restrictions are temporary, and I think now the recent regulation under Section 22 of the Foreign Exchange Act, it clearly says this is for only for 6 months, and I mean for the next 6 months only. And with the measures, I think we have been discussing for about 1.5 hours now. We strongly believe that the situation of the country, the foreign exchange situation, I mean, there again, not because of any other thing, but the people will start believing that there is no need for rushing for imports and delaying for their export proceeds conversion. And those will materialize. And eventually, whatever the restrictions that are currently in place also will be taken out if the position is going to be improved. So this is what we are working for. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. This one question from Mr. Gayan Chandrasekhar from LBO to Governor. So Mr. Gayan is referring to the government's decision to a tax exemption strategy for undisclosed money and assets. So Mr. Chandrasekhar is asking, what are your thoughts about such a scheme from Governor? Governor, if you have a response, please.
These are undisclosed, then they are undisclosed to me also. How can I give a response to that?
About the strategy, I mean, overall, I think he's asking about the policy of allowing.
There are things that can be discussed openly, and there are things which are best left to sensible policy making through careful discussion in camera. Okay.
Thank you very much. I think that explains it all. I think that's pretty much that we have in terms of the questions posed by the journalists for today. So because there are no more questions, let's end this press conference now. So I would like to thank again Governor and Deputy Governors and Assistant Governors and the heads of department, my colleagues who joined this press conference today. Let me also thank all the journalists for joining this press conference, and I'm sure you were able to clarify the issues that you had. And also I wish to thank the Communications Department and the Center for Banking Studies for arranging necessary logistics to have this virtual press conference. And finally, let me remind you that our next monetary policy review announcement is on the 19th of August. So with that, let us end this press conference today, and thank you all again for joining this press conference, and have a good day. Thank you.